This is GARIS Masculist MGTOW flyers. 2 3-page essays on the themes of masculism and MGTOW. Written and read aloud by Prof. Dr. Hugo de GARIS. This is flyer number 177, entitled MGTOW-Masculist Anger at Women Seeing Men as Cash Machines. Description. This flyer expresses my anger as a masculist against women's evolved trait of judging men by men's EQ, that is, exploitability quotient, that is, by how much can she extract from him in money terms. MGTOWs-Masculists exert enormous moral pressure on women to be FIPs-EMOs, financially independent persons, and having equal moral obligations with men, so that women will be forced to suppress their evolved behavior of seeing men as cash machines, or be punished by being manless. Now for the flyer itself. MGTOW/masculist anger at being seen by women as cash machines. The idea that I have learned from the MGTOWs that most pisses me off, that makes me very angry about women's nature, women's psychology, is their evolved behavior of judging men by men's EQ, exploitability quotients. That is, women evolved to be parasites on men's protein gathered from male hunting, and judge men to the extent that women can benefit from that male protein by bribing him with female sex. Women are deeply intrinsically evolved to be prostitutes to men, which is why the human female is the sexiest of mammals. Human females do not have days of being sexually in heat, the way dogs or monkeys have. Because human females are always in heat. They can have sex any day of the month. They evolved this way to be able to extract, that is, bribe, men, to give them protein from the male hunt, to feed themselves and their babies. The pre-human baby's brain doubled in size in a mere million years, which was strongly selected for because intelligence strongly increases survivability, but the bigger head needed a larger birth canal in the female hip bone, pelvis. There was a limit to how wide the birth canal could be before the stresses on the hip bone became life-threatening to women. So pre-human babies were born prematurely, so that the baby's brain could continue to grow after the birth. But prematurely born babies are useless and need constant attention, so pre-human females could not roam far from home looking for food, so became dependent on men to hunt for them. Pre-human females evolved to be the sexiest of mammals as a result of bribing males with female sex for male protein. In today's world, women still behave as prostitutes to men. There was a famous experiment done showing women 2 photos of the same handsome man. In one, he is dressed in a McDonald's uniform, and in the other, in an Armani suit, leaning on a Lamborghini sports car. The women had moisture detectors placed in their vaginas. The women moistened a lot more at the sight of the rich man than the poor man, even though it was evident to the women that it was the same man in both photos. I remember an incident in my own life that illustrates that women will vaginally wet at the sight of a rich single man. I was at the Davos World Economic Forum in 1998 giving a talk on the rise of massively intelligent machines, and stood 3 meters away from Bill Gates. I could not have gotten any closer to him, even if I'd wanted to, because he was surrounded by 4 circles of females. Gates was the super stimulus, and he was surrounded by dripping vaginas. But, despite knowing that women evolved to be prostitutes to men, to bribe men with female sex to give them protein for themselves and their babies, I'm still very angry at women who judge me largely by my EQ, my exploitability quotient. In one of my flyers, I expressed this anger in the form of a masculist slogan, which was the title of the masculist flyer I wrote. Quote, "I'm more than a cash machine, you bitch." End quote. If I sense that a woman is sizing me up, trying to assess how much I am worth in financial terms, and ignoring my other traits, especially those traits that are closest to my heart, that is, intellectual traits, my self-image as a thinker, a sage, an intellectual, an ideas guy, then I feel abused, used, degraded. I am more than a cash machine, you bitch. As a masculist, I expect women to be FIPs and EMOs, financially independent persons who bothered to get a FIP education, which gave them the ability to earn good money so that they were true FIPs and as women did not have to parasite off the money of a man. But a woman being a FIP is not enough. As a masculist, I expect her also to have EMO values, that is, that she expects on moral grounds to have, quote, equal moral obligations with men. That is, feeling the moral obligation to pull her weight financially with men, expecting men to be given equal rights as women, etc. For example, she supports the legislation of the paternity rejection right, the male equivalent of the female MARA, aka also known as abortion right. If the mother continues the pregnancy, then she gets full legal responsibility for the costs of the kid. I know women evolved to be parasites on men, but that doesn't soften my disgust and contempt for women looking at me as a man in terms of my EQ, my financial state, my willingness to give women gifts in exchange for sex. I reject all that and feel abused by being treated like a piece of meat by women. I had a similar feeling as a young man when I was conscripted by the Australian government to fight in the Vietnam War. Shows my age. I felt an utter hatred for that government at the time and used to roam around the cemetery at night near my university college, dreaming up plots to throw grenades into the meetings of the politicians. I was outraged, full of hatred at being treated as a piece of meat, as cannon fodder, to force me to risk my life to further their ideologies. So I have bitter memories of being treated like a piece of meat, whether by conscripting vermin politicians or by fluffy vermin females. The two feelings are similar. So as a masculist, I put enormous moral pressure on women to be FIPs-EMOs, or they are punished. They will not get a man. The primary political goal of the masculists is to wipe out fluffydom, by wiping out fluffies, by ignoring them to death, that is, so that they rot on the shelf, utterly ignored by men, so that they lead miserable lives, manless, loveless, sexless, babyless, poor, and shunned by a society increasingly sympathetic to masculist/MGTOW ideas. So women are going to have a hard time in the coming decades as masculist/MGTOW ideas rise and rise, as men become collectively fed up with women seeing men as cash machines. Millions of men, like myself, will express our contempt at being used by women, exploited by women, seen only as useful to women if we give them money. Such women I despise, and I want nothing to do with them. Such women are fluffies, whom I see as immoral, parasitic, man-slaving vermin to be wiped out, forced to be FIP-EMO, or they don't get a man even to twef with them. In brackets, 2A, 2F equals 2 apartments, 2 FIPs, where the man and the woman are both FIPs and have their own apartments. When the sexual relationship ends, they return to their 2 apartments, cost-free to the man. Women will be forced by masculist/MGTOWs to suppress their evolved prostitute natures of judging men by men's EQs, exploitability quotients. This will not be easy for women because it's difficult to fight your own biology. If you're programmed genetically to vagina moisten at the sight of a rich single male, then women will have to make more effort to suppress this tendency, because if they don't, they will pay a heavy price. They will be punished by men. A young woman who gets a reputation amongst her male acquaintances of being a fluffy will be treated as though she has a capital F branded on her forehead, which will be the kiss of death for her in terms of ever getting a man. Her reputation of being a fluffy will condemn her to manlessness and a miserable, rejected life. So, to the women reading this, become FIPs, adopt emo attitudes, or suffer. We men have the power to force you to be FIP-EMOs. If you're not, we will have nothing to do with you. We won't even sex you. You will become FIP-EMOs or you rot on the shelf to extinction. So pay heed, listen, and learn. Cheers. Prof. Dr. Hugo de GARIS. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. And my new YouTube channel has its title GARIS, Masculist, MGTOW, Flyers. So you can check out my new videos on that channel. Ciao.